Something I've learned about myself is that I am very inspired by the environment that I find myself in. Knowing that about myself, I decided I needed to apply that to my own everyday life. I needed to be inspired by the environments that I find myself in on the daily. So in this video, I'm going to give you my approach to creating your own vibe in your home office or your studio space. Two lessons before we get into the first tip. Now, the first one is that we experience a space with all of our senses. And it's easy to just focus on maybe the visual representation of a space, but we need to take into consideration all of those so that we have a complete vibe. I've got a feeling I'm going to use vibe a lot in this video, so let's just go ahead and throw up a vibe counter down in the corner for fun. Lesson number 2, okay? An unnamed arrow never misses. That means that if you aim at nothing, then you'll end up with nothing. So before you start creating this vibe in your space, take a moment to think, what is your vibe? What are you trying to achieve? This could look like any number of things. It could be like creative and bold and energetic, or it could be something more relaxed and laid back. Maybe like very professional and focused. It could be any number of different adjectives to describe what your vibe is. So I'd encourage you to take a moment to think about what that is, because an unnamed arrow never misses. For me, I would describe my aesthetic as kind of old school, a little vintage. I like things with some character. I want it to be low key and relaxed and just simple. I don't want to try too hard. I'm going to try hard not to try hard. Now, the first sense that we're going to explore together is the obvious one, and that is sight. How does a space look when you get into it? Now, most of us here on the channel, we're all either filmmakers, photographers, or both, which means that we know how to light a space. At least we should. So now imagine with me, if you will, you get on a new location and you're going to begin to light your scene. What's generally one of the first things that you're going to do when it comes to lighting? You're going to see if you can turn off the house lights, because the house lights are bright, they are ugly, they're small, which makes these hard, nasty shadows on everybody. It just kind of kills the mood, and we always try to turn them off so that we can bring in better lighting. So let's take that same principle and apply it to our home office, to our studio. Let's avoid using the big lights if we can, and let's opt for something more of like a diffused lamp. This lamp I have over here, one of the best things I've done for the vibe of the studio. When I turn the overhead lights off and just rock with this guy, it gives this nice, soft, warm glow that is just, it wraps you in a hug of light. We're gonna send it. We're gonna go with hug of light. All right, so we're gonna use multiple lamps throughout the room to give us a softer light, but it's also not so toppy. It's a little bit more eye level, which makes everybody look better in the space as well, and we all want to look better. So lamps, but also consider the color temperature of your lights. Now, for me, I was going for this kind of vintagey, relaxed, chill vibe. So that to me meant warmer. So I went with 3200 Kelvin bulbs. If you were going for more of that professional, focused, efficient aesthetic, then maybe opt for a lamp that has something like a 5600 Kelvin bulb to get you more of a neutral, daylight balanced white. One more note on the topic of lighting. If you have a bunch of artwork on a wall or something you want to feature, look into like some overhead track lights that can give you a very focused beam, almost like a spotlight, to call attention to parts of the space that you really like. This also helps with the contrast of your spot. We don't want everything to be necessarily flat and evenly lit. That begins to feel like a hospital. This gives us kind of bright spots in one area, lets other areas fall off into shadow, and helps to guide your eye through the room using your lamps and potentially your spotlights as well. The second sense that we're going to discuss here is sound. What are the things that we need to consider when it comes to how our space sounds? Now, the first one is acoustics. An echoey room is unsettling. Now, the most extreme example of this is a racquetball court. If you've ever been in a racquetball court, it is a small room with cement walls, and it echoes like crazy. And there's nothing calm or relaxing about that. So what do? Reverb or echoes, they come when sound reflects off of surfaces. Now, sound reflects the worst off of large flat surfaces. These are our walls, their floors, their ceilings. So anything that we can do to break up the wall, to break up the flat surface, will help to diffuse that sound. It will help it to bounce around in a way that isn't quite so unsettling. So what do we do in our space to help with that? This looks like adding in nice large pieces of furniture, desks, chairs, things with cushions are all great ways to help with some of that reflection. As far as the floor goes, big area rugs are fantastic for deadening some of the reverb in the room, as well as putting things up on your walls. All of that helps to just deflect and redirect that sound a little bit. One more thing to consider when it comes to how your space is heard is through ambience. I think that music is probably one of the biggest improvements that you could make on your space for the fewest dollars. It's got the best bang for its buck. It's such a cool way to romanticize your life. If you think about it, it makes you feel like you're in a movie. Movie characters, they get their own score, so give yourself a little bit of main character energy. Now for me, in my space, this is where the RetroLife turntable comes in. Now for this video, they sent me the UD006 model. I've got it on the table back there. This so far has been a home run because it checks two boxes for me. Going back to the previous chapter about the visuals, I mean, it is very visually aesthetic, especially when you consider the vibe I'm going for, which is that kind of old school vintage feel. Turntable, nail on the head. And the second box that it checks is that it fills the space with great sounding ambience. If you were to walk through the door of my studio on any given day, you're gonna hear that RetroLife turntable cranking Miles Davis, Johnny Cash, Frank Sinatra. Let me give you an example of how good music can really up the vibe. That unit serves a lot of roles for me. The standout feature is the turntable, which lets me play some of the records I've begun to collect. To me, listening to records is a lot like shooting on film. Are they expensive? Yes, so expensive, it's absurd. Are they the most efficient? No, they are not. They're slow. Does anything bring a smile to my face quite like the tactile, genuine, and authentic transaction when using those mediums? Not even close. However, my record collection is not very extensive yet. So when I need to, I can flip over to Spotify on my phone, switch the dial to Bluetooth, and then I can utilize the unit and the speakers to play anything all day long. Aesthetic and versatile coming to you from RetroLife. So check out the description of the video for a link, and we've got our own discount code. Number 3, touch. What kind of textures do you have throughout the space, and how do they feel? This is where I really try to opt for real, genuine materials when I can afford it, which is never, with the exception of garage sales and antique stores. When it comes to how things feel, when you sit on it, when you touch it, when you interact with a piece of furniture, I really don't like when something feels cheap or plasticky. Things that are like laminate glue board type stuff really kills the vibe. So I'm trying to use as many solid, real materials as I can. That could be metal, it could be wood, it could be leather, like a velvet, just to name a few of them. Now, like I said, those things to buy new are quite expensive. So check out garage sales. It's a great place to find something. Check out antique stores. Opting for the real deal when you can. Because to me, and you might think differently, to me, I would rather spend the money on a used piece of furniture that's made out of real wood as opposed to spending the same amount of money on a brand new piece that is made out of whatever they're using these days that it's not real wood. Do yourself a solid and get something solid. That's pretty good. Spitting bars for you. Let's stop. Let's quit while we're behind. Number 4, I get made fun of for the way that I display 4. Apparently, I don't tuck my thumb in far enough, and it probably should be more like that. But this is my channel, so I'm going to put a 4 up however I want. Liz, that's my wife. She's the one that makes fun of me. No one else does. Number 4, we're talking about smell. This is a sense that I think is often neglected when it comes to spaces. And not that, oftentimes I find places that smell bad, they just don't necessarily smell good. They're very neutral. Here, we're trying to up the vibe of our space in a 360-degree manner, so we need to consider smell as well. Now, this could be candles, this could be incense, it could be diffused oils, it could be air fresheners. That's going to be something for you to decide for your own space. The main takeaway I want you to have from this chapter is to not neglect this scent. Put some thought and consideration into it. For me, the answer is coffee. It could be coffee beans, it could be freshly brewed coffee. That is how I want my studio space to smell. Come to think of it, this sense probably isn't as important as the other 4, so let's agree to skip over taste. Back to the couch. It can be easy to put too much focus on just the visual aesthetic of a studio space, the things that would be photographed. The problem with that is that the vibe in the space becomes very linear. It's not as well-rounded and fleshed out as it could be. Retro Life can be a cool place to start. Thank you, Retro Life, for sending over the turntable and filling the silence and contributing to the aesthetic of my studio space. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Happy shooting out there. Happy designing your space. That's the saying. God bless.